Well, tonight's guest and our newest member of the Honky Tonk Time Machine is a guy who's proving that real traditional country music is not dead, and the future of the genre is looking really bright. In fact, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite artists going today. His name is Randall King, and he joins us right now. Randall, thanks for coming on the show. How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm great. How are you?
I'm glad to hear it. I'm doing pretty good myself. I'm excited to have you on. I was just telling you off the air a little bit that I did a deep dive into your music around Christmas time, and I felt like I was back in the 90s. It reminded me a lot of George Strait or maybe a little Clay Walker, and you and I are pretty close to the same age, so I can't help but think that was a lot of your inspiration.
Absolutely, man. And thank you. Thank you for doing a dig on me. And, man, I grew up on old school country. My favorite artist is Keith Whitley. And right up there with George Strait, Alan Jackson. So, I mean, I grew up on old school traditional music, running down the roads in the 80-model Freightliner with my daddy, listening to guys like Electric Frizzell and Gene Watson, those guys. So it's a deep part of my roots, and that's who I am. And we ain't trying to be nobody else, but exactly who we are and play that kind of music.
That right there is why I wanted to have you on my show, because I feel like you're bringing that sound back. And although I've only recently discovered your music, you've been doing this for a little while, haven't you?
We really started hitting it hard. 2016 is when I signed on with management. 2015, I was still booking myself, managing myself. But we were still playing 100 days a year and just trying to build a name. And, so I started out in Texas in a little town called Lubbock in the Panhandle, which is where a lot of guys started out, man. Buddy Holly, Wade Bowen, Waylon Jennings, Josh Abbott, all those guys, man. And my roots run deep through Texas, but we've been playing all over the country. 2016 signed on with a management company, and then we kept building, kept opening for guys like Cody Johnson, Aaron Watson, Kevin Fowler, a lot of the guys from Texas that were pushing across the country and building my name, putting out music. And I signed on with Warner Nashville in the fall of 19, and we started pushing a little bit bigger on a platform. Here we are today, man. We're just out there trucking, grinding it. We're doing it the hard way, building them hard ticket sales one at a time.
Well, you're absolutely killing it in Texas right now, and I shouldn't be surprised. Now, is that where you're from originally?
Yeah, man. I grew up in a little town called Hereford, Texas. It's a feedlot cow town. So it's like cow feces 24/7, and it's a real deal, man. I grew up out there hauling hay with my dad. I come from 4 generations deep of truck drivers and hay haulers. And that's where I grew up, man. That's where I spent my life, West Texas. And I haven't really moved out, man.
Well, we got that in common. My dad's a truck driver, too, and every town around here smells like cow feces 24/7. So.
Missouri is a little bit cleaner than that.
We can stink it up with the best of them, but I don't necessarily consider that a bad thing either. Another thing we have in common is we're both big football fans. In fact, I saw you were pulling for our Kansas City Chiefs on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I'm a big Chiefs fan, man. I started following them. It's always been Dallas Cowboys and Kansas City for me. I'll be from Texas. It's hard not to be a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
But there's a deep history with Kansas City that ties back into Texas, as they were originally the Dallas Texans. Trent Green, Priest Holmes, Dick Vermeil era. Once they picked up Andy Reid, it was game over, man. I love Andy Reid. Of course, they drafted my Texas Tech Red Raider quarterback, so had to absolutely support all that. So
yeah, the Super Bowl might not have gone their way, but something tells me they'll be back sooner than later. Getting back into your music, I've heard a lot of talk coming out of Texas that you are the next George Strait. I mean, you talk about high praise, but also a hell of a lot of pressure. What goes through your mind when you hear that?
Honestly, man, it's really just a high compliment. That's the way I like to take it. I take it as a big compliment. I don't take it as I got to fill everybody's boots. We're out here making our own path. I'm absolutely not George Strait. There's a rough edge, Waylon Jennings type of a vibe to me. And like I said, I'm a bigger fan of Keith Whitley than anything. And the comparison from my music to George's is obviously it's incredible, the fact that people even think that.
I just heard your cover of Tell Lori I love her from Keith Whitley. Incredible. I absolutely loved it.
Thank you. You know, that's the first time I've ever even played that song. I love that song. Somebody asked for me to cover it, so I did it for him. And I mean, that song's in my top 3 Keith Whitley songs, but I love it. It's a very personal song for Keith, obviously, so it's hard to cover it.
Right.
There's so much emotion behind that song, if you know the story. So
that's one that's hard to make your own, but like I said, you did an awesome job of it. You got a new EP out right now. It's called Leanna. Every song on it is fantastic, but let's start with the title. Obviously, that's something that means a lot to you. Leanna is the name of your sister, who tragically you lost almost a year ago. I think it was last April, right?
Yes, sir. It's weird to think that was almost a year ago. Yeah, my sister passed away in April due to long-term complications of gastric sleeve surgery that she had back in 2013. And my sister was everything to me. She was a big part of the reason that I have the drive that I do for music, the love that I have for music. And I didn't really realize those things until she was gone, how much she'd really influenced me as an artist. She introduced me to Dierks Bentley's first 3 records, which, I mean, all 3 of those records were my top 5 of all time for me. That's what I grew up on. It's what made me who I am. I lived those songs. And her influence on me was astronomical in who I am today and who I am as an artist. And I'd write songs, and she'd be the first person that I'd send to the song. I'd send her the work tape right there, those little iPhone voice memos that we do after we write. She'd be the first person to get them. I was always looking for her approval on things. And it's hard not to have that, and I wanted her to remain a piece of my music forever. So the night that she passed, I was sitting in her Jeep out in West Texas looking up at the stars, trying to find the words to say and what my next step was in life. And I thought about these 3 songs. And the first 3 songs on the EP, we had already recorded them. We were going to come out in the spring with those 3 songs, and there wasn't anything really deep tying those songs together, other than it was just part of my personal history. The things that I struggled with growing up, from depression and anxiety to the early struggles of my career to one of my good friends that I wrote Hey Moon about, him and his daughter. The fact that he was going through some things with his ex-wife, couldn't see her, and I wrote that for him and his daughter. And I kept sitting there thinking about those 3 songs and how hard they tied into me, and then it kind of hit me that all 3 of those songs tie into my sister as well. And I guess she was always there every step of the way for me. She had my back when I was going through all my depression in high school. She was looking out for me. Hey Moon was her song to her daughter, because she was the first person I sent that song to. You know, and then Around Forever is obviously about the fact that you better hold on to your loved ones, because we really ain't going to be around forever. You don't know when their time's going to come. And then the 4th song on the EP is called I'll Fly Away, which is my version of that song. It's my version of that cover. That's the song that I sang my sister home to Jesus to, man. I was blessed and privileged to be able to sit there in the room with her for about an hour when she was passing. And I played her a little concert, and then I called my dad. I was the last one to get to visit the family. I called my dad, and he came in to be with her as they pulled the plug and let her go. And me and my family gathered around this big oak tree sitting outside of her hospital room. And my dad put us on speakerphone, laid the phone by her head, and me and my whole family sat outside singing gospel songs, and that was one of them. It was the very last song that we played before my dad came out. I said that she was gone. So I wanted to make sure that song made the record, because it's as special as it is to me. I've already seen so many DMs, so many private messages from people telling me how important that song is to them. And they've used it to lay their family members to rest, and that's an incredibly special thing.
I've known that song my entire life. Its roots go way back, and I've always liked that song. I've always enjoyed that song. I've never heard it sung the way you sang it. And what I mean by that is the style in which you sing it, I like, because it's traditional country sounding, but also the emotion that you put into it. You can tell there's a story there. Even if you don't know the story, you can tell there's one there. And I just want to compliment you on, to me, the best version I've ever heard of that song.
Man, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. We just wanted to do it justice for her. I believe we did.
It's always been a song that, I've enjoyed listening to, but not one that I ever necessarily wanted to listen to on repeat until your version came out.
It was pretty cool experience getting to record it. We booked a separate session just for that song, and I sat down. I handpicked all the musicians to play on it, and it was all guys that have recorded my music since I started coming up here to Nashville. Most of them recorded on the self-titled record. All the new stuff that we've been doing, this EP, the last EP, they recorded on them all, and they're special guys to me, man. They got a lot of heart and soul, and I sat them down before we went to record that song. And I told them the story of my sister and why I chose them. And you could feel the energy shift in the room that day, and you can hear how much passion there is even in the players in that song. And I just remember when I got done singing vocals, I just had to sit down and cry for a little while, man. I mean, there's a lot of heart in that song. It was a special thing to be a part of, and something you'll never forget. But my sister lives on forever in my music because of that EP, and because my label in Nashville gave me a chance to do what I want to do, and they got behind it 100%. And between them and my management company, I'm forever grateful, man. So thank you as a PD for listening to my music and supporting it and playing it, man. It means a lot to me.
You talk about the oak tree. I'm just putting this together, but isn't there a big tree in the music video for that song? I guess there's some symbolism behind that. Yeah,
they're the guys that did the music video. The whole thing, man, from the music video to recording and everything, just was really an incredible process, and honestly, a really great healing process for me. The guys that did the videos, all four of them, drove down from Nashville to be with me in West Texas to film these things. We filmed everything right there around where I grew up, between Canyon, Texas, Hereford, and Amarillo. It all tied right into my roots and my history, and they knew what this project meant to me and why we did it the way we did. Almost all four of them had recently lost a parent, and the project meant a lot to them too because of that. And little things kept happening, man. We would have a destination scheduled, and we would have a whole plan figured out, and then something would happen, and plans would change last minute. But the way that they changed, it just tied into my history even more. Our original destination for a couple of the video shoots was going to be in Hereford, and then last minute a plan change happened, and we filmed right out off the exit off of the highway that I used to travel every single day going home from Lubbock in college to my house. And it was just little things like that just kept happening, and you knew it was her.
Yeah.
You knew it was her and God moving through that and making it even more special. But that oak tree that was out in Canyon, and they found that last minute and picked it. And it was the coldest day I've ever shot a music video. I think you can see in the video, my face is solid red. And I think there were several times that, like, my own snot would freeze out of my nose. We had to stop. It was cold. It was so cold. It was great, man. Great experience.
Well, like I said, it's a beautiful song and a beautiful video, but, that's just one of the four on the project. The next one I want to talk about is one you mentioned in Hey Moon. I'm listening to the song, and I'm like, oh, this is a cool song to sing, about your lover. And then I realized, well, that's not what it's about at all, is it? And it kind of takes you maybe through about halfway through the song before you realize it, and it's like, Wow, that's really cool. It was kind of a cool little twist, I thought.
Yeah, I can always tell the people that didn't really listen to the song, or they didn't get all the way through it, and then they do a review on it. There's been a couple people that did a review on it. And I'm like, y'all didn't listen to that song. You just listened to the first 30 seconds.
You almost got me on that one. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, man, I wrote that with a guy named Mark Nessler, incredible writer up here in Nashville. He wrote Just to See You Smile, Living Well.
Cool.
Great writer, man. We sat there, and my buddy back in Texas in Lubbock, his name's Danny Sadra. He was a great friend of mine, a great father, and was just going through a bad time with his ex-wife and wasn't able to see his kid, and had to go through court systems and things, typical divorce type things. And to not be able to see your daughter for 60 days because of all that was just incredibly heartbreaking and incredibly hard on him. And I've never quite seen anything break a man like that. And in that time frame, I sat down and I wrote that song, Hey Moon, for him and his daughter, and I sent it to him. And man, you talk about Keith Whitley vibes. That's exactly what we were aiming for when we recorded that song. And I was like, I want to be able to compare this to LA to Miami. That's what I told my engineer and my producer. And they're like, all right. So we sat there and A-B'd it up, and man, it sounds like you could pull it right off LA to Miami. I love that song.
I love it too. It's one of my favorites, and the music video for that one kind of switches the roles a little bit, though. It's the woman who has lost custody, and I thought that was a nice little twist too. You kind of changed it up on us there as well.
We did that because that song became my sister's song for her daughter. She didn't go through an ugly divorce or anything, but anytime you get a separation like that and the kid has to split time, there's always going to be time lost from a parent, and that separation is just it can really be heartbreaking on a parent, and it was for her, for sure. And her ex is a great guy. There ain't no problems with that. It's just you're talking about the loss of time, and I think that song reflects well for all those parents, and I hope that it gives them a little bit of a peace when they're not with their kid.
Yeah, I think any parent, especially one who's gone through divorce, can relate to that song. So, and then the last one I want to talk about from the EP is, of course, Around Forever. I sent a message to you a while back. I don't know if you got it. I hope you did. That I think this is the best country song that I've heard in the last, 20 years or so. I think that highly of this song. Just a fantastic piece of work. Tell me about the making of this one. Wow,
that's a hell of a compliment. Thank you.
I really do believe that.
I can't thank you enough for listening to it, man. Hopefully it's a single soon. I personally love that song. I wrote it originally with a couple guys, Will Bundy and Josh Miller, and a couple young guys up here in Nashville. They're great writers, and we sat there. We didn't have an idea. We started just messing around with it, and Josh had this idea called Around Forever. And I was like, man, I dig that. And I started sitting there picking on guitar. We started writing the thing. And we got to the very end of it, and we were like, concept-wise, we wanted to make sure that the point got across that you need to take the time to be with the people that you love. And I told a story of, we've been playing 150 shows a year for the last 4 years, and then gone an additional probably 100 on top of that. So we haven't really been around our family a whole lot. The biggest times that I get to see my family is really the holidays, if they come to shows. So I was gone. It was about a two or 3 months. I think it was a 3-month stretch that I went. We were just working so hard and running so hard that I didn't see my dad for about 3 months. And I came home one day to see him, and my dad always had this really pretty light brown hair, and he just went solid gray from his beard to his hair. There was just a little bit of a hint of brown left. And you could see how old he'd gotten just in those 3 months. And I told that story with him. I was like, we got to include something along those lines. And Josh sat there and said, Daddy used to throw me in the sky like I was Superman. And I said, it's funny. As looking back now, it's who I thought he was back then. It's just those two lines, I think, are the best two lines in the whole song. I think it really reflects across the board to everybody that has a parent that they love, and or any loved one that they've lost. I think it's just a strong message of, hey, go out there and take that time, man. You got to literally live it while you got it.
I think anybody can relate to at least one part of that song. I know for me, I'm listening, and first verse, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And then the second verse is like, yeah, I'm living that right now. And then the third verse is like, oh, man, I'm about there, too. And for me, it was more with my mom. And I kid you not, I had just downloaded a bunch of your music, and I was going through it on my way home from work one day, and that song came on, and I stopped at my mom's house. I just had to see her, and you're not the first person to write a song like that, but for whatever reason, that's the one that actually moved me to take action. So whether it's your mom, your dad, anybody who you're thinking about, maybe you haven't seen in a while, that message of, make that stop or make that call really shines through in this song, and I love it for it.
Absolutely. Make a call, man.
And especially in times like right now when people are just being isolated from their families because of everything that's going on, it's just a ridiculous time that we're in.
Man, I've heard some horror stories over this last year. People not even getting to say goodbye to their loved ones, and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
not being able to be in the room with them as they pass. I mean, and honestly, Leanna was that. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't in the room because it was horrible for my father. But even then, I at least got to go in the room and say my goodbyes for an hour, and to have that and at least get to know that I got to physically touch, kiss him on the forehead, and say goodbye. That meant everything in the world to me, and that my heart breaks for the people that couldn't do that this year with their families. And it's been one hard year, and all I want is this. All I want is this EP to give someone healing the way it's given me healing.
Now, it already sounds like it has. It's something special. Now, another thing I love about the song, Randall, is life spins like a haggard record. That is gold. Did you come up with that yourself?
Yeah, that was my line.
Yeah.
I'm a big Haggard fan.
Yeah. That's good stuff. And I follow you on Twitter, and I see a lot of people kind of tweeting that at you as well. I think a lot of people like that one.
Man, thank you. Hopefully, like I said, it's the next single. We'll see what fans do with it. It's streaming pretty well right now. So.
Yeah. I hope so. We'll add it in a heartbeat if it is, and we're going to play it during the show if you don't mind.
Yeah. Please, man. Please.
I didn't think you would.
No, you play whatever you want to play it on, man. You're more than welcome to.
Well, that said, you do have a bunch of other songs that I just love of yours. I'd like to talk about some of those if you've got time.
I'm here for you, dude.
Well, how about Mirror, Mirror, then? This is one of the countryest songs I've heard in a long time, and that is pure country music. Tell me about that one.
So being from Lubbock, I started out in this little bar called the Blue Light Live. It's right there off Buddy Holly Avenue in the Depot District. And it's where a bunch of guys in Texas have started out in the scene. Wade Bowen, Josh Abbott, William Clark Green, Cleto Cordero from Flatland Cavalry. There's Red Shahan, so many guys that started out there. And it was a huge music change and in the scene in Lubbock. There's about a 10-year, 15-year span where you just watched artist after artist come out of Lubbock. And it really started with Pat Green and Corey Morrow. The Blue Light's only been around for about 15 years. And so there's a big brotherhood amongst songwriters and artists out there because we're all so close. And Josh Abbott and William Clark Green started a little group called the 806 Campfire. 806 being the area code for Lubbock.
Okay.
And 1 week out of the year, like all these songwriters, we go out to a ranch in Stephenville, Texas. It's Larry Taylor's ranch, where he does this big festival. And we go down there. We spend a week at a time, and we sit there and drink beer and write country music. And the first year we did it was 2017. And a good friend of mine, name's Brandon Adams, he came out and he said, "Hey, man, while we're here, I want to write a song with you. I mean, itching to write it with somebody that's really country." He goes, I've tried writing it with somebody else before. It didn't work. He goes, "I want to write it with you." I was like, okay. So we went out, got on the tailgate of my truck, and we're sitting out there in open pasture. And he pitched Mirror, Mirror to me. And I was like, yeah, dude, we got to write this song. Like, we got to write it right now. So we sat there, we started scratching it out, and we were like, verse and chorus, maybe into the song. And in Nashville, when you write with somebody in a room, you shut the door and essentially lock it, because really, if anybody just comes in the room while you're writing, they can legally have the right to say that they threw a line or they said something that they influenced the song, and they can get a third of the right. So normally in Nashville, you shut the door and keep people out. But when you're riding on a tailgate in open pasture and there's a bunch of musicians around, pretty much anybody can walk up, which is what my buddy Dalton Domino did. Walked up with a cigarette in his mouth, came up. He wrote the second verse, and I kept one line out of it. So he gets a third with one line, and I've definitely paid his car bill before.
Which line was that?
Show me her in the early fall.
Oh, man, that's a good line, too.
It was a great line.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's too good. I can't not keep that. Yeah, I love that dude, man. He's great. But, yeah, that song was just country to the core, man. As soon as he said those first lines, that mirror, mirror on the wall, I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah, we're writing that.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. That's an awesome story. I love it. Now, another one that I love of yours is Another Bullet. For nothing else, the story it tells about how the cowboy life is kind of leaving us, if not already gone.
That song was actually a challenge from my uncle. My uncle writes poetry, and he started writing songs. He texts me and goes, I think I could write a better song than you. I said, all right, game on. So he sent me an article that was written by a W2 student about an old cowboy from West Texas named Tom Blassingame. And Tom was like the last known true like cattle drive cowboy that worked out on the Goodnight Ranch. Worked out on the Goodnight Ranch up there and around Amarillo. And he was a real deal. And he was born on the back half of that cowboy life. So he watched the cattle drive go away. He watched fences go up. He watched modern civilization become what it is today. Television, all those things. And he hated it. So he lived out 5 days a week on that ranch with no electricity and an old shack and lived his way of life. And on the weekend, he'd go in town and be with his wife. But the story goes that he went up, leaned up against this tree, tipped his head down low, took his final breaths, and just died on that ranch because he was ready to go. So, it was a hell of a story. And my uncle wrote a song based on it, and then I wrote Another Bullet.
Wow.
And that song got me my management company, got me my booking agency, which in turn led to my label and where I am today.
Really?
I wouldn't be who I am without that song.
That was the song that did it, huh?
And that's the song.
That's cool.
It took me 6 months. I was on radio tour in Texas, and I was just driving around Texas and writing that song, trying to get my name out there. It's pretty inspirational.
We've got a segment on my show because I'm so interested in the cowboy life and cowboy songs and things like that. I have a segment on my show called the Cowboy Poetry Song of the Night. It's kind of inspired by a scene in the movie 8 Seconds. I think this will be perfect for that segment.
That's awesome. Oh, please do.
I think it will. Next, I got to ask you about Hey Cowgirl, and fans of K103 will be probably more familiar with this one because we played that. That was, I think, your last single that came out. Another one that really got a good reaction around here, I thought. People seem to really enjoy Hey Cowgirl.
Yeah, that was my first, it was the second song we released nationally on radio. It went all the way to 30, and was a huge deal for me, man. Never been on national radio. It's been a dream of mine since I was a kid to hear my own voice on radio and have people listen to my music. And I wrote that one with Mark Nessler as well, and a guy named Bryce Long. And there's plenty of songs out there about cowboys, plenty of beer drinking songs, hell raising songs, honky tonk songs. There just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of songs that represent the cowgirl and represent the rodeo queens, the rodeo girls, the barrel racers, all of it, man. And we wanted to give them their own song, and that's what this is. It's a tip the hat to the cowgirl.
Got the Amarillo by Morning line in there, which was a nice callback to George Strait.
Yeah. The fun part about that song is live you can change out that line once in a while.
Yeah.
Played Cheyenne Frontier Days, and I changed it from a George Strait song. I can still make Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Crowd went crazy. That's fun. Played Fort Worth, and you sing Fort Worth, cross your mind. Yeah, all that, man.
That's
you
good.
can into that all day.
Well, and then right before that, you put out She Gone, which is one that just gets up and kicks you right in the face, and that's a good thing. You know, radio stations are always looking for tempo songs, and that's what we were looking for when you put that out.
I love that song. That's a once she got her window down and her finger up. She said, "Goodbye, son." She gone.
Now, we've only had 2 so far, you know, national radio hits, but that's the song of yours that we've gotten the most requests for. I think that one
really
resonated with this part of the country for one reason or the other.
Yeah, it's Middle America, man. And I got them wild grows. I like to say goodbye.
I think so.
Yeah.
Did you write that one too?
I did. I wrote that with a guy named Chris Stevens. And it was originally, I think the demo of it was, I think about 10 to 15 BPM faster than the song that it recorded. We had to slow it down quite a bit.
Oh, wow.
we drank a lot of coffee on that ride. We were jacked up pretty good. So I think we wrote it pretty fast. So we got in the studio, and you know it's fast when the drummer, that's a rock drummer, goes, after the first time you run it through, takes a big deep breath, like, hey, man, can we slow this thing down a little bit? Like, yeah, we'll slow it down.
Well, I'm telling you, everybody listening right now, whether it's live on the radio or on our podcast playback, check this guy's music out, because there's so many other songs I'd like to ask him about, but we simply just don't have time to do it. I do need to ask you this, though. You've been fortunate enough to, you know, keep your tour going in Texas. You know, what do you got next? What's coming up next for you?
We just finished up an album. I think we're looking at the third quarter. Once the country starts opening back up, we can do things real safe again, and really start pushing things. We'll start dropping, I think, a couple singles off the next record that'll be coming out either the fall of this year or early 2021. So right now we're going to tour, keep touring safely on and promoting the Lee NAP, and so, you know, we've been able to go through and kind of fall right in that category where we can play some of these lower capacity seated massed events that for a little bit higher ticket price, and give people a little bit of hope and get their minds off the chaos that the world is in right now, and do it safe. And we've been the heaviest touring band in country music, at least in 2020. So we're going to keep doing that, keep playing where people are safe, and keep a little smile on people's face, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at your tour dates, and I was trying to see, man, where's the closest you're coming to me, so I can maybe get out and see. I think you're coming to Arkansas one time. You'll be in Nebraska another time. So maybe one of those dates I'll have to swing out and check out your live show.
Absolutely, man. I think we have a Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, do you?
At some point. Yeah, that one kept getting rescheduled. I think that one might be late spring or summer. I'm not sure.
Well, that'll be the one then.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
All right, cool. I'll definitely come out for that. Like I said, I love everything about you. You're a Cowboys fan. You're a Chiefs fan. You got the thin blue line decal on your guitar.
Always, man.
I just love it. So I really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Hey, well, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you for talking to me for so long. And honestly, thank you for finding me and listening to my music, man. That means a lot to me. It's a hell of a thing.
Randall King, everybody. Randall, thanks again for coming on.
Hey, thank you, brother. We'll talk. We'll see you soon, man.